Hello and welcome to episode number 25 of the Beyond the Clinic podcast. And I'm really excited because this marks 6 months of this podcast being live. Can you believe that? That is super exciting. So I have got a guest for you today. We are meeting with Nevine El Sherbini, who is a friend and a colleague of mine, and she is actually an online business manager. So she's a dietitian like me, but she decided to pivot her career into a different direction, and now she supports other dietitians and nutrition professionals with the running of their business. So we're going to talk through what is an online business manager, what's the difference between an OBM, as it's shortened to, and a business coach, and an OBM and a VA, because they're all along the similar sort of spectrum. And she's also going to give us her story and a little bit of insight for how you might want to get started if this is something that resonates with you as well. So with that said, let's dive in. So welcome, Nevine. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. I would love for you to just introduce yourself and let people know what exactly an online business manager does.
Sure. And it's a great question because I think you'll agree that there's a lot of dietitians that don't even know what the term means and certainly don't know how an online business manager can actually help them in their business. So essentially, I like to think that I just make my clients' lives easier and really help free up their time so they can really focus on activities that are going to bring in income and really allow them to grow their business. And I think I would say I support them in 3 key areas. So one would be managing systems and processes. So that's really ensuring that their business runs efficiently. One would be managing teams. So that would be making sure that anyone on their team is happy, but also knows what they should be doing. So everyone knows exactly what they should be doing and when. And the last one I would say is managing projects. And that will look different in different businesses, but essentially from project planning to overseeing and making sure like all the moving parts of any projects moving it in the right direction. That's how I would where I essentially support. I don't know if I should share maybe finer details of what that actually might look like. Some examples?
So my next question I had for you, just bouncing off what you just said, is it sounds as though you're ready for an online business manager when you've got a lot of stuff going on and you're perhaps feeling a bit overwhelmed. You might be spinning plates. Your business is booming. It's really busy and you just need someone to come in and support you with that. So how would someone know that they're ready for an OBM?
So I think you really hit the nail on the head. That's like those feelings of just complete overwhelm, of maybe even burnout, and just knowing that you need somebody to come in and really help take some things off your plate. Also, I find people often, they have lots of business ideas. So they're like, oh, I really have all these ideas of things I want to do, but they don't even have time to just even think about how they're going to get from A to B. They're like, oh, I want an online course, or I want to bring on some associate dietitians, but they're just like, I don't even have time to even think about what that looks like, let alone actually doing it. So I would say, yeah, definitely that feeling of feeling overworked, but also having just lots of ideas of things you want to do. People have lots of creative ideas, but they just need someone to really help execute them.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're stuck in that place of feeling too busy, but also having loads of ideas and just it's the execution part, isn't it? It's getting it done. That's the stumbling block. Yeah, amazing. So we've talked a little bit about the role of an OBM. I think a lot of our listeners will be familiar with the role of a VA, a virtual assistant. Can you just outline kind of the difference between the two and perhaps how those two roles might complement each other? And you're very welcome to talk about what that actually looks like in your business as well.
Yeah. So I actually started off as a VA. So the best way I think to describe the differences is a virtual assistant is more of a kind of a doer. So someone who's actually doing the tasks. Whereas an online business manager is someone who oversees the task, oversees the process and manages everything. Perhaps if I use an example of, I don't know, a blog, for example, the virtual assistant, maybe with some guidance, they might write the blog and they might upload it to the website or find images for it, that kind of thing. Whereas an online business manager is a bit more strategic and looking at the bigger picture. So they'll be like looking at, okay, what blog posts do we need? How many do we need a month? Let's put a plan together, doing research to make sure that you're creating the right kind of blog post. So coming from it as a more of a strategic and planning angle. And online business managers and VAs often work together because it's very rare for me to, and I don't think I ever have worked with any clients who don't have some form of administrative support or a content creator or someone, because they need someone to actually be doing the tasks, and that's not what I do. So it is very, very common to work together.
Brilliant. Yeah. So they've often got that first hire, or they might even have a small team of support staff, whether it's an intern or a VA, or there's other people helping them in their business, and you're overseeing the work that everybody does.
Exactly. I think some people underestimate the time that it actually takes to do all of that, to manage people and having to review work and approve it and answer questions and make sure people know what they're doing. And essentially that can take up a lot of time. So actually having somebody that you can trust that can do that for you can really be valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had firsthand experience of that. So a few years ago, I decided that I was going to take on a load of interns, and I think I had about 30 to 40, probably 30 at one time. And they were creating content for me. We did it all appropriately. We had SOPs for every step of the journey. And we had some interns who were doing the keyword research and creating blog outlines, some who were actually doing the writing, some who were creating social media posts from the finished article. I think there was 5 different roles that they could go through. But oh my God, the time it took for me.
That number's a huge number.
Yes. It was, and also I had an assistant in my business as well, who was another dietitian who was amazing. And between us, we just spent so much time. We ran the program for a year, and then we decided we had to knock it on the head because it was so labor intensive that we weren't getting a return on the investment in the time that we were spending on it from the work that they were doing.
Yeah.
So I can totally see how this role would be really useful. I just want to touch on, so you mentioned taking a bit more of a strategic approach. So as I'm a business coach, so can we just talk through a little bit between the difference between an OBM and a business coach, really?
Yeah. And sometimes because dietitians don't know what a business manager does, I do get confused with a strategist or business coach. So I would always say, and again, most of my clients, but not all, are already working with a business coach because again, they have these ideas, but they need to make sure that they are the right ideas for their business. And so what the ideal situation is for them to come with me knowing that these are the right ideas to actually implement. So if I had someone coming to me and saying, oh, I've got 10 ideas, which one shall I do? That wouldn't be my role. But if they came to me and said, I have done this research, or I've been working with a business coach, or I've done all of the kind of the legwork to validate this idea, and now I want to start implementing this idea, then that would be the stage that I would come in and be able to support them. Yeah, I would say that's the main difference. I love working with people who have business ideas because essentially, if people don't really know what they want to do, I can't really help them. But yeah, they need to have a refined 1 or 2 refined ideas before they start working with me.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've experienced the same as well. So sometimes people will come to work with me and then want me to do it. And I have to say no. So I am a strategist. I will support you with your business strategy and design, but actually you need to go and do the work. And if that means that you have to bring in a team, including an OBM and a VA and whoever else, that's what you need to do. So it's the overarching strategy to help them get more clients, get more revenue, build their business, really. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think most of us are familiar with the setup of the NHS. And the way I like to think about it is if you were the Band 7 clinician, the lead clinician, the specialist, the OBM might be your team lead or even your department manager. And then the business coach might be like the director who is setting the strategy, setting the tone, setting the vision for the business, maybe even like the chief exec kind of thing. So it's like that that overarching approach. Does that resonate?
Yeah, that's a great comparison. And I'm sure one that like all your listeners will really resonate with, having mainly come from the NHS. So yeah, absolutely. And people like your dietetic assistants might be your VA. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that really, makes the picture a lot more clear, doesn't it? Yeah, love that. I think everyone will be able to resonate with that little analogy there. Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about your journey to becoming an OBM. So you're a dietitian.
I am
by trade. How did you get to do this?
So I love talking about my story and my journey, because I think it's not a typical one that any dietitian has taken. And I think I've always been a bit of an anomaly. So that doesn't surprise me. But essentially, I would say my journey really started probably about 5 years ago, 2019, when I took a sabbatical. I was working as a specialist renal dietitian for a very large London teaching hospital and had been there for about 16 years. And I guess whilst my journey probably started there, taking a sabbatical, I would say probably for a few years leading up to that, I definitely had certain feelings of, I think best described as maybe being a bit restless, not really 100% content. I just found myself complaining about lots of things and being frustrated by so many things. But to be honest with you, Sarah, I never dreamed of leaving, because as far as I was concerned, that was all I could do. This is what I do. And so I never dreamed of leaving. So I think I just managed those kind of frustrations by really getting involved in like non-direct patient work that I really liked. So I was very active in my niche. I was a committee member on the renal nutrition group. I worked with kind of national guidelines. So I did a lot of other things. But I think it was only when I took my sabbatical. And actually, I took a 2-year sabbatical, and I thought at the time, I thought it was just a break. That's all I thought. I thought, I'm just going to take a break. I'd always had a passion for traveling. I had some savings, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to go traveling for 2 years, and this is the break that I need. I've been there for 16 years, and I'll come back and I'll be feeling refreshed and everything will be fine. And that's what I thought was going to happen. But I would say very quickly, probably within 3 months, I realized that actually I didn't want to go back. And actually it was more than I didn't want to. I think it was, I just knew that I shouldn't go back. And it was a real pivotal moment for me. And I know you talk a lot about these kind of like moments. I don't want to dramatize, but it felt like an epiphany. I remember being on this beach in Mexico and just thinking the feelings that I had were a lot stronger than I had allowed myself to feel. And I really would encourage anyone who's just has those slight negative feelings that something maybe isn't quite right to really explore them and take time out to explore them. And I know everyone can't take 2 years out, but even if you can just take half an hour out of your day, like I found journaling really helpful. But I really was able to realize that I'd be doing a disservice to myself going back to a job that I knew I was not 100% happy in. And I thought, I'll put it to the back of my head. I'm going to travel for 2 years. And towards the end of 2 years, I'll figure out, because obviously at this stage, I had no idea like what I would do. And then COVID hit. And I think COVID was a very big time for lots of freelancers and online businesses. So I decided to come home, and everyone obviously was going into lockdown. And it was then that I thought, okay, now is the time to figure out what you're going to do, because you've got a lot of time now. And to be honest, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I looked at it with a very kind of clean slate. I think traveling the world solo gave me a lot of confidence. That was one thing. And it was because I stepped outside my comfort zone. I'd never traveled by myself. I'd never even had a weekend away by myself. And there I was traveling through Latin America completely on my own. And it just gave me like a huge sense of confidence. And I think the other thing was I met so many inspiring people. And people who had like completely changed their lives. So I remember I met this woman from America. She was living in Guatemala. She used to be a prison officer, and she now had a travel agency in Guatemala. I met a lady who was a chef, and she was now running a pet and home sitting business traveling the world. And so I really was like, I can maybe do anything. It doesn't have to be dietetics. And so I basically ended up becoming a virtual assistant, because for me, it was like the easiest route into working online, because I didn't know anything about online businesses. And I was doing courses and learning and really trying to upskill in areas that I didn't have skills in. So I actually worked as a virtual assistant for a year. And then I transitioned. I'd found my niche within working as a virtual assistant. I realized I wanted to work with dietitians and it made sense for me to do that. So that was another thing that kind of happened in the first year of working online. You talk about it a lot, about having a niche, and it was something that I eventually found and made sense to me. And actually, when I was working as a virtual assistant, it was definitely my unique selling point.
That was going to be my question. When you were working as a virtual assistant, was it for dietitians or were you working for other people as well?
So at the start, I was very open. I was just like, I just need to get clients. No, the first time I'd had my own business, I was like, I'll take anything. So I definitely had, my first client happened to work in the health food award business. She had a business in the UK of health food. So that was my first client. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because that's of interest to me. But I did have other clients. But I would say, again, probably within a few months, I realized that I enjoyed working with dietitians more, and I enjoyed working with them and I enjoyed the work more. Just the content was more interesting. I was more passionate about it. So during that first year, I actually dropped my clients that weren't in the nutrition space and just focused on that. Yeah.
Okay.
That was my niche.
And then what was your transition from VA to OBM? Did you need to go and do some training to learn how to do OBM work? What happened there?
Yeah, again, and I would say this is probably for most of the last few years of working online, it wasn't my plan. I definitely was just figuring everything out on the spot, and everything I felt really happened organically. So I just came across a course, one of these like 1 hour free webinars. Doing so many of those, but this one really resonated with me. So it was somebody selling a course on how to be an OBM. I didn't really know what an OBM was at that stage either. And it just resonated with me because I just remember some of the qualities she was saying that an OBM needs to have. So someone who loves planning, who's super organized, who can manage multiple things going on at once, a good communicator, good at decision making. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, this is me. And when she was talking about some of the tasks, I was just like, oh my God, I would love to do those things. Because I would definitely, as a VA, was starting to, and this is probably towards the first year of working as a VA, was starting to think, do I want to do this forever? Like, it had been an amazing starting point for my kind of like online business career, because I just learned so much about how different online businesses worked, and it really was beneficial. But I would say some of the tasks I started to find a bit boring, and I just felt that I had skills. I had more specialist skills that I could offer. So it came at the right time. And I did this course, and after I finished it, I just knew, I was like, this is what I want to do, 100%. This is what I want to do.
Amazing. And I think it's so interesting how life can lead you there without you even really knowing that's the direction you're going to go in. And when you get there, you're right, you feel that passion, that burn, don't you? You feel like this resonates. I'm in the right place. I know exactly what I want to do now.
And that's happened in my life as a whole. When I look back 5 years ago, when I was, living in London, I had a very hectic social life. I was living a kind of conventional 9 to 5. And that it didn't resonate with me. And like now I travel the world, I work online, I work the hours I want to work. It just feels right. It feels like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think you just have to trust the process. And sometimes that can be really hard to do. And it was a massive mindset shift for me, because I was definitely somebody, I enjoyed the security of I had a mortgage. I wanted to make sure that was paid. I did enjoy that security, but it wasn't as important to me as I realized once I didn't have that anymore. And I realized actually there were other things that were way more important to me in life than having that kind of fixed income every month. So you have to trust the process, and it can be scary, but
yeah, absolutely. And just for everyone listening, where are you now?
Okay, so actually I'm in Egypt now. I've been here for about 2 weeks. So I'm in a place called Dahab, which is a beautiful old fishing village in the Sinai. So you've got the mountains on one side and the sea on the other. It's very super chill. So I've been here a couple of weeks, but this year I've been in Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Colombia. Been back in Europe visiting family and friends in London. I was in Malta, popped to Ireland. So I love traveling. Traveling's my life. And having this business really allows me to do that.
Yeah, absolutely living the dream.
I feel so. I feel like that.
Brilliant. That's great. Awesome. Let's get back to OBM.
Yes.
Tell us, for those people listening who are thinking, yes, you know what? I'm overworked. I'm overwhelmed. I've got VAs, I'm still feeling it, I need an OBM. Tell us the sorts of things that you can help people with. What do you do? What could they expect from working with you?
Okay, I'll give you some of the sort of typical examples of things that I currently help my clients with. Like you say,
Yeah.
for example, they've got a VA and they might be like constantly having to answer questions. Maybe the VA, maybe they don't have their processes mapped out in standard operating procedures. So that's one of the things that I can do. I create standard operating procedures for all the processes in their business. Everything is documented. So whoever's actually executing the task, they don't have to ask any questions because everything's all written down. It might be that I support in setting up a new system. So for example, if they say, oh, I want a new electronic health record system, but I don't know which one to use, I don't have time to look at all the different ones available. I might go and research, look at the pros and cons, present that to my client and come up with perhaps what I think is the best fit for them. And then I might set it all up, set up all the automations, that kind of thing. I help clients with their content. So for example, I think that's a big one. Dietitians, they want to put content out there, but they're so fixated on the one-to-one clients, like bringing in money, that they find it really hard to balance that. I can take management of that whole process, from looking at blog post ideas to doing the keyword research to creating a 3-month plan to overseeing the content creators if they've got VA or if they've got an intern or they've got whoever they've got writing the blog post. So reviewing all the blog posts, making sure they're all optimized for SEO, just making sure that they're getting scheduled when they're supposed to be scheduled and everything, making sure things are repurposed so they can then use it for social media. So again, my clients that I do content management for, all they really do is at the beginning, we might just generate some ideas together and then they see the finished blog post just to prove that they're happy with it to go. But by that stage, it's gone through a sort of series of reviews by me. What else? So hiring team, for example, if they maybe need a new VA or if perhaps they need somebody like a freelancer. So I don't know, I want my website updated. I don't even know where to look. That takes time, sifting through all the different potential people who can help you with your website. And so it might be that I jump on discovery calls with different website developers, making sure to see who's best, and then present that to my client and say, I've shortlisted these two. So yeah, I would say there's some of the things.
Brilliant. That's great. And I know you helped me with HR. Probably, I don't even know if we really knew each other then, but I was at the point where I had some contractors, some freelancers working for me, and I was looking into bringing them into the business as employees. And I didn't really know how to get started with that. And you put me in touch with an HR person so I could go and find out that information. And actually, I decided it wasn't the right thing for me at all, but I wouldn't have known that. So I think you're right. I think it's doing that little bit of research, signposting people, essentially doing all the hard work, the groundwork, and presenting them. Yeah. And I love your content creation support that you give, because I could totally see myself employing you to do that in my business. Come up with the ideas at the start and look at the finished articles at the end, and I don't have to do anything in between. So I love that idea.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know there's so many steps, and I can understand when dietitians come to me. I've been on some discovery calls and they're just like, I just do not have time for it. I know I need to do it. I know, because when I've done it, I really see more business coming in, but I just don't have time to do it. So yeah, that's great.
Brilliant. So I think we're just about coming towards the end of our chat, but I've got 5 quick fire questions for you, if that's okay.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So the first one is, what's the best bit of your working day?
Okay. So I would probably say the beginning of my working day. So I am a complete planner. I like to know what my day is going to look like. So I start my working day. I have my morning routine. I cannot start my working day until I've done my morning routine. So I'm always feeling really refreshed in the morning and kind of very motivated and ready to go. And I start my day by basically having a look at all the tasks that I have from the week. Let's say it's a Monday. These are the tasks that I've got for the week. And I figure out what I need to do on Monday. And I literally put them in my calendar in the order I think I need to do them, at the time that I need to do them. So making sure that I've given myself enough time, and just that feeling of knowing how my day is going to go, because it's very rare. Obviously, some things come in where someone's, can you do this? It's urgent, of course, but it's very rare that happens. So that kind of feeling at the beginning of the day, when I've planned out my day, I know exactly how it's going to go and I'm just ready for the day. I would say that kind of, first thing in the morning for me.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm not a morning person, but I'm much more effective at work in the morning. Yeah. Number 2, why do you do what you do?
Okay, let me think about this one. Okay, so I would say primarily why I do what I do is for myself, which might be an unusual thing, or maybe not something that other people might think of. But I think sometimes as dietitians, we're so conditioned to just want to do things for other people. And I would say the main reason that I kind of work online is because I want to have total freedom. I want work-life balance. And so that's why I work online. But in terms of specifically why I work as an OBM, I think I would always going to go down the line of a service provider. It's something that was the best thing for me when I was working for the NHS. The thing I love the most is helping people. I just want to help people. So I think I would always going to go down the kind of route of providing a service. And as I said to you, when I first saw this course about online business management, it just really resonated with me. I think that I have the right qualities to do this. I think it's what I'm good at. I think it's what people need help with. I'm sure you've heard of the ikigai. I never know if I say it right. Finding something that you enjoy doing, that you're really good at, that people need help with. And I think it just makes sense for me to work with dietitians. I love seeing other dietitians thrive and their businesses thrive. So, it just makes complete sense to me. I don't think I would want to work with in other industries that don't excite me or that I'm not passionate about. So, yeah, I've made a long-winded way of why I do what I do.
Brilliant. And the freedom, of course, as well.
Absolutely. That's my number one. My work-life balance is priority. And it was only something I realized after I left. I didn't even really think much about it in my old life, as I like to call it.
Yeah. Question number 3, tech, love it or hate it?
I think if you have an online business, you have to love it. I don't think you have a choice, or at least you have to grow to love it. I think the big thing is not to be too scared of it. And it can be scary. And I know I've spoken to dietitians and they tell me things like, oh, I keep hearing all these like different names, all these different platforms and softwares. And I'm like, I don't even know what they are. And you don't have to know all of them, but I like the things you can do with them, let's say. And whilst there's always like a little bit of anxiety about learning a new platform, a new app, there's so much support now out online, whether it's your online community, whether it's a YouTube video. So I love what you can do with tech, and I definitely have my favorite things that I absolutely love. So yeah, definitely more on the love side.
Yeah, me too. Question 4, how do you stay motivated?
I think for me, it's probably around like creating a day that I want to do. I remember in the past that feeling of waking up in the morning and going, God, I've got to go to work. I've never get that. I haven't had that for years.
Oh, brilliant.
And I think it's a combination of really enjoying what you do and just creating your day so that you are going to enjoy your day. So for example, if there's tasks in my business that I don't want to do or that I can't do, I'll outsource it or get some support with it. If it's something that's a bit challenging, I'll maybe try and do it in the morning when I know I've got a little bit more energy. I always make sure I inject something fun in my day, so I've got something nice to look forward to. So I think just curating my day so it's a day that I want to live in, just keeps me motivated.
Yeah, brilliant. And number 5, what's the one thing you know now that you wish you could tell your former self when just starting out in business?
Oh God, where do I begin? There's so many. Okay, let me think. I think to not compare yourself to what other people are doing, because I think if I had, I would have just gone maybe just down the route of working, putting my sort of kidney nutrition, what I was doing in the NHS straight online. I was able to try and not look what other people are doing and just knowing that everyone's on their own journey in terms of their destination, in terms of what that journey looks like, in terms of the pace. And again, I speak to a lot of dietitians that they're like, oh, I see this dietitian, they've got like a membership, they've got this, and I'm really struggling. And it's just to remember that everyone is on their own journey. It looks completely different. They were probably where you were. And so I really would tell my former self that it doesn't matter, because I got started this quite later on in my life. And I remember thinking, oh, by this point, people should have established businesses. And I had to just get out that mindset and just be like, it's okay, you can do it anytime. And just stop looking at other people and just focus on what you're doing. So I think that's what I would tell myself.
I absolutely love that. And I think that's definitely something that we as clinicians, and actually maybe it's just dietitians, I don't know, but that fuels our imposter syndrome and it slows us down. And it stops us being brave and taking that uncomfortable action. And often it's the uncomfortable stuff that leads us to the success that we want. And I'm guilty of it as well. And that's part of the reason why I don't really spend very much time on social media other than what I need to do for my business, because I'm drawn to look at other people who are succeeding in social media, who are living the life. And we all know that social media posts are curated. It's not real life, it's curated life. But still, it can trigger you. It can make you feel as if you're not doing as well as perhaps other people are. And so for me, I've just learned not to do that. So I think you're absolutely right. Don't compare yourself.
Yeah.
We're all on our own individual journeys. Our businesses and our business ideas are all completely individual to each other. Even if there's another person who works in exactly the same niche with exactly the same ideal client, with exactly the same offer, you've got a different audience, you've got different people around you, and you are unique.
Yeah.
People choose to work with you because of you. So, yeah, you can't compare.
No. They say, was it comparison is the thief of joy, I think is the famous quote.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm totally in support of that.
Definitely. It's been amazing. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Do you want to tell people where they can contact you if they feel like they need an OBM, or they feel like they want to train to be an OBM even? Can you just let people know the best way to contact you?
Sure. So I would say either via my website. So that's www.thriveonlineservices.com. So you can book a call with me, have a chat with me. And alternatively, I'm also on LinkedIn. So they're probably the main places to get me.
Awesome. That's great. And I'll make sure I grab those links from you and pop them in the show notes for everybody as well.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, and enjoy your time in Egypt.
Thank you so much.
I'm very jealous because it's not very warm here, and I think it's very warm where you are.
It's 33 today. I'm literally like my hair, the sun is shining into my lounge. So yeah, it's very hot.
Oh, it's 11 here. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Sarah. No, thank you so much for inviting me and having me on your podcast today. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Take care now.
Bye-bye.